All right, so we're in week 5 of this show that I've been running, and this week we're talking all things meditation. That's what we're going to be
Yep.
doing, right? So I've got Chris, who's on this show with me, which is very, very cool. I'm going to put his details for who he is and also what he's about, which he's going to go into detail. And maybe I'm going to put it over to you, man. What are you about? Who are you? And what do you do? They're pretty
Well,
loaded questions, but I like to put it over to you rather than me like do that.
how much time have you got?
Okay, yeah, true.
There's a few aspects to it. Well,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I've never been one to just focus on one thing in my life. Maybe some people look at that as a flaw. I think for me,
Mm,
that's been a little bit of a benefit, I think.
mm,
So right now, I am a meditation teacher,
mm,
a former graphic designer.
mm,
I run meditation retreats in Bali. I work in an e-commerce business with my partner where we teach people to meditate through the internet. Our mission really is to make meditation cool, because taking responsibility for your own mental health, if that isn't cool, building your own confidence, giving yourself more energy, mastering the voice inside of your head, that to me is the definition of cool.
mm, mm, mm,
But meditation is it has a stigma. It's
mm,
been coming around a little bit over the last few years,
mhm,
but really, when most people think of the word meditation, the way that the mind works is it makes snap judgments and just keeps going.
mm,
So everyone at some point has seen some statue of the Buddha, or some monk sitting in
mm,
orange robes and
mm,
full lotus. And then we think, okay, so that's what meditation is. That's got nothing to do with me. I'm gonna
mm,
keep going now. I'm a modern person. I have a phone, blah, blah, blah.
mm,
And we're really working, me and my partner Rochelle, we are working at undoing that stigma,
mm,
trying to reposition and reframing what this practice is,
mm.
because uh, it's something that's sorely needed. It's something that can be used by everyone,
Yeah.
and it's so much simpler than people think.
Mm,
It's like a bucket of gold just hiding under the table. It's right in plain sight.
mm.
And, but I mean, I'm kind of jumping all over the
Man,
place here a
you
little bit.
didn't. You
So
just hit that one out of the park, man, straight away. Amazing. Touched on many different things. And I know that when I first saw you, one of the things that stood out, and I'm glad you provided that little bit of a story, because when I first went on the web, like when I first went on the Insta page, I was just like, whoa, that looks cool. And
well,
I
that's
didn't
good.
intentionally use that word then, because maybe I did, right? But I just remember looking at it, looking at the design and looking how you were coming across, and just went, they've got it. Yeah, you've done really well, and I can see the trail now, as you're saying, for how that's coming across, and then also the mission. You want to make it cool and you want to make it accessible. And what I
Exactly.
love, man, on a personal level, for what I'm trying to achieve, is that you've also created that business structure behind it to then be able to support people on a wider scale, to be able to create this impact. And you're doing that by getting the foundations of business in place as well. So well done, man.
Yeah, 100%. It's yeah, you gotta mix it up. I've noticed that there's a bit of a I don't know, call it a trap. There's a trap in the spiritual realm of where most people who are providing this service,
Mm,
exist, which is
mm,
that you have these very broke spiritual people,
mm,
because they've added some kind of weird negative spin on what it means to have money. To have money is
mm,
a bad thing, apparently. To
mm,
be
mm,
business savvy is a bad thing, apparently. But it's like,
mm,
what is money but potential? It's energy. It's freedom credits.
mm.
If I want to get 1 billion people to start meditating, well, give me $1 billion. I could probably make that happen in a month or two.
Freedom
So
credits. I've never heard that,
yeah,
man. I love it.
it's the same thing as meditation. You have to reframe what it means to try out a new energy that's
Yeah.
attached to a word like that. And I
Yep.
think especially money, it has this, people look at it in this weird, that there's a lot of different views on money in this planet, and
Mm,
a lot of them are negative.
mm,
And
mm,
meanwhile, the question is simply like, how much impact do you want to have? And
mm,
if money is the vehicle that allows you to, get on the airwaves, get people on board, I could get the bloody Kardashian clan meditating next week if I had enough money.
yeah.
And then from that, you might get 100 million girls who suddenly start doing it, who are the most susceptible for depression and anxiety and everything as well. So it's, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to really bridge, I'm trying to bridge a few
Mm,
gaps there.
mm,
And
mm.
I'm not trying to be a meditation teacher for, we're not trying to so much cater to the demographic that is already really into it. You know, like if you want to get super deep into meditation and you want to talk in Sanskrit and go all day long, then there's already enough people out there who are providing that. You know, go to Ubud, there are 1,000 yoga shalas there. And that's great. It's great because to that demographic, that part of the world, they're already like, hey, I'm into it. You know, I got my incense burning. I'm reading my Alan Watts, and let's do this.
Yeah.
But what about the rest? You know, what about the 95% of the rest of the world that aren't wearing yoga pants right now? And how do you tap into a market that is more focused on the external? You know, that already has preconceived notions about what this whole thing is. A lot of these people are decision makers. You know, when you go into the world of finance and business, you know, how many of those people have a meditation practice? How many of those people are emptying the trash inside their brain occasionally so that they can think clearly? And how much impact are those people having on the lives of everybody else? You know, like it's so that's where I think making it cool is where is a step in the right direction.
Awesome, you know? Man. Awesome. To cut it back, if we're just going to like strip it way back, because correct me if I'm wrong, what you're kind of saying is that like, let's make this accessible. So nowadays, like we're kind of like, everyone's hearing about meditation. More and more, like Headspace had us go. We've got these other apps that are coming, and meditation is this thing which is more in the center. And I imagine my way of looking at the center is your way of going, hey, let's actually make it way cooler, and it's better to talk about cool than the center. But what you're doing is going, hey, for anyone who's kind of curious and for anyone who's kind of heard about it a couple of times, we could be the starting point. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay. So,
but also someone like who has been meditating a little bit, played around with maybe the Sam Harris app, maybe played on Headspace, but not sure, but could be like, you know what? I'd love to immerse myself into it, but do it in a cool surroundings. And you provide that option through a retreat.
Yeah, I think you know, meditation. It's a funny thing. It's the word meditation. Exactly right. The word meditation itself is.
So what would you say? Like if we're to say what is meditation? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no, it's so good. Well, the challenge with the word meditation itself is that it's a category word. It's like the word car, right? So you say, what is meditation? It's like, well, what kind of meditation are we talking about?
Yes.
I would say, you know, just off the top of my head here, when meditation, if you try to clump all the techniques into one definition, I would say, you know, they're techniques, they're mental techniques to allow you to fine tune your awareness and to manage your thoughts, right? So, and right there, we already have a couple of other words that might spring up a lot of questions like awareness, thoughts, right? So, meditation to me, it's the management of the voice inside your head, right? So everybody has a voice or voices inside of the head. You know, we have this weird stigma of crazy attached to a statement like that. But the fact is, everybody is thinking all the time. We have 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. That is the latest scientific estimate. And I don't know whether that's going up over time, probably. And we are thinking so much that we don't realize we're thinking all the time. You know, so we have all these levels of awareness. We have memories from 10 years ago. What are we going to do tomorrow? What am I going to eat for lunch in an hour? And it's all competing in one layer over another. And a lot of stress comes from keeping this much stuff inside the head. Now, you can function with all that noise in your head from the day you were born to the day you die, 100%. But the question is, what state are you in the entire time? If you are an absolute overthinker, which is a lot of people, it can have a pretty negative impact on your day-to-day existence because you'll hardly be present unless something really tremendous happens. You know, it's your birthday or you're jumping off the 3 meter at the swimming pool or something. You find it very difficult to be here when the voice inside your head is always carrying you off into the future or the past. Now, where meditation comes in is meditation is like a maintenance procedure that you can do for your mind on the regular, some people have this black or white perspective where like, what, I can't meditate once and feel calm forever. It's like, well, can you shave your face and never grow another beard? Or can you mow the lawn and never have another leaf to pick up? And, but what meditation is there are different techniques. There are some which focus on breathing, for instance. Now, the breath is always in the present moment. That's why it helps you get away from the future, get away from the past, get back here, right? The technique that we teach in our online course and at our retreats is something called mantra meditation, where you essentially add something over the top of the thoughts inside of your mind. What you do is you have a meaningless sound that you play inside of your awareness with your thoughts. So you have your thoughts, and this is where a big misconception about meditation comes in. People think that it's about stopping your mind. It's not about stopping your mind. If you try to stop your mind, you're setting yourself up for failure because it's way too difficult. You are way too much of a scatterbunny. Okay, you'll just be like, why can't I stop my mind now? Right? Yeah. And you'll just create more thoughts. So what we do in our meditation technique is that you essentially practice, and I'd say this is for most meditation techniques, what you're doing is you're practicing ignoring the voice inside your head. You practice ignoring your mind for long enough until your mind decides to sit down and shut up. Okay. And it sounds a little bit weird. You're like, how the hell do you ignore your own mind, right? And it's like, well, the way it works is that you give it something else to do. And whenever your mind wanders back into thoughts and you become aware that you've wandered back into thoughts, you return your awareness back to that other thing that you're doing for an extended period of time. Now, that could be breathing, that could be focusing on all the sounds around you, like mindfulness or breathing meditations, or you could do a Buddhist meditation where you count your breaths and you always focus just on the number, and then 1 to 10, and then when you reach 10, you go back to 1. If your mind wanders, you go back to 1. Or what we do is we teach people a meaningless sound that doesn't create more thoughts, and you play it in your mind over here, whilst you accept that your mind is going to have a crap ton of thoughts over here. And your job becomes to continually replace your awareness back to this mantra, which is essentially a placeholder for your attention. It's a non-stimulating placeholder for your awareness. And when you do this for long enough, right? And some people do this for a couple minutes. They go, I did this clip on YouTube, didn't really work. It's like, you got to stay with it a little bit longer. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's like training a puppy, right? You sit the puppy down in front of you, go sit. Puppy walks away. You grab it, you sit it down.
Yes.
Sit it down, right?
Yes.
You do that enough times, eventually the puppy starts to sit. And just like that, the mind starts to calm down.
Yes.
It takes a while. It takes a little while. It takes 15 minutes sometimes, I have an analogy that I developed, because I feel part of my job these days is not to be some guru, right? There's enough gurus out there. My job is more to come at it as a modern individual who's a graphic designer, who thinks in creative kind of ways, that I got to come up with metaphors. I got to come up with euphemisms. I got to come up with like new ways to reframe this thing. And I try to think about, how does this mechanism work? Like how does the mind calm down in this weird backwards way? And I came up with a good one, which I think explains it so that people don't fight their mind when they're trying to calm it, which is that the mind is like water. It's like a bucket. So imagine you have a bucket of water, a drum of water, and it's full to the top. And then you give it a kick, and then the ripples go back and forth on the water surface. So these ripples, they're like your thoughts. They're like your neural activity, just constantly going back and forth and bouncing into each other and just never ceasing. Now, if you now decide today, hey, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to meditate because I want to calm my mind. I want to feel calm. Then you can't do that with force. You can't take a book or something and try to flatten the water surface. And one second, my girlfriend's just let the cat in the house, and it's a very noisy cat.
It's okay.
Baby, can you take Cleo outside? We've adopted this cat. It's the most noisy thing ever. Did you let Cleo in? It's actually my cleaning lady. Why on? Can you take her outside? I'm just on a podcast. She's going to distract me the whole time because she's just talking. She's going, meow, meow.
Yeah.
She's
And you're going to go back and forward with the
um,
sound, right? And then you're going to, yeah.
yeah. All right, let me get back to it.
Yeah.
So you have a bucket of water, and the
Mm.
water is going back and forth, and you trying to stop it with force by being like, I'm going to stop my mind now. That is the same as you trying to flatten the water with like a book or something. It's not going to work. Every action creates a reaction. You're just setting yourself up for failure. You're just going to get frustrated that you can't get this water flat, right? So how do you flatten the water? It's like, well, it's the exact same thing with the mind. What you do is you put the drum over here and you leave it alone for long enough for it to calm itself from the inside. It has to do it on its own through using time and using non-involvement, you not disturbing the water surface further. So the way that you take the drum of water, your mind, and put it over here is that you give it something else to do. And this is where the mantra comes in. Now, the word mantra means mind instrument. And it's a very descriptive word, because what you're doing is you're giving your mind something, you're giving it a banjo or something. You're giving that crazy monkey in your skull a banjo to play for a little while, where it does something other than think the whole time. And when you do that for long enough, when you put your awareness on something else other than the bucket of water, then the thoughts, all the stuff about tomorrow and yesterday and next and blah, 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 then after a while of taking your awareness away from the thoughts and putting them on something else, the mind, just like the water, naturally starts to calm down. It's like, you ignore someone for long enough, eventually they'll go away.
Yeah.
And it's literally that with the mind. But I will say that one of the fundamental realizations that you'll have, and that will help make this process more effective, is that you are not the voice inside your head. And this is a big, like, what?
Massive, right? Yeah.
Most people, right? It's when we talk about identification with the ego, what is that? It's like, well, it's an over-identification with the voice inside your head. It's I had a thought. Because I had the thought, it must be the truth.
Yes.
It's like, but where did that thought come from? Could that be your stupid uncle when you were 12 told you that like money is the root of all evil or something? Money's the root of all evil now. It's like, well, when you were 12, maybe you didn't have rational faculties to be like, yeah, but my uncle's also an idiot.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't do everything that he said.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that gives you, I mean, that's a very long-winded.
Like it. And in terms of, so listening to some work in the past, I think I heard Sam Harris talking about meditation. The point in which, and what you've been able to look at through scans, etc., would be the grey matter that represents stress, and then the grey matter which represents, say, something like focus, right? It's that moment in time when you notice that you're drifting, and rather than drifting and going, oh, fuck, I'm thinking again, why did I do that? Oh, I can't do this. Just kind of like going and coming back. And that moment when you come back is when it's kind of, he calls it like, and as you know, like that bicep for the brain. It's that moment of just like returning. And how does that apply with the sound? So what you guys are doing, because I've never done the form, I do a lot of breath work, and I've got two questions actually from some people in my network that wanted me to ask some things.
Sure.
One of them was, and I'm sure you probably see as well, breath work is definitely on the rise. So there's a lot of.
To be honest, I'm not an expert with breath work.
Sure.
I've been focusing mainly on so I mean, for us, we both learned the mantra meditation technique about 8 years ago, and it was in response to my partner having depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder from childhood abuse, which was the root cause of the whole thing. Basically, untreated, unrecognized trauma hidden deep in her mind when she was little, which later in life developed into, anxiety, weekly panic attacks, bulimia, depression, suicidal tendencies. And, when I kind of figured out that was the root cause of her kind of strange neurotic behavior from time to time, a few months into the relationship, we both just put our sleeves up and we're like, all right, let's go on a pilgrimage of self-discovery and figure out how the hell do you fix this thing in the root? Man. How do you fix your memories in your mind, right?
And, shows a pretty cool connection that you guys had early on.
Yeah, it's like for me personally, like my father committed suicide when I was younger, so I have a bit of a soft spot for mental ailment, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother is a very driven, very hardworking German, like elbow grease kind of person. Like there's no giving in. Like we just go and get this thing sorted. And so I just kind of applied her values in that, and I was like, I looked at my partner's environment as well, and there were not many people who understood what was going on because she hadn't told people. She felt shame and she felt all this stuff, and she felt that people wouldn't react the right way.
Sure.
And so there wasn't a very big support structure around her, and she was honestly on the brink of suicide, pretty close to at that point. So I thought, what, if I don't do this right now, then who the hell's gonna? And it took us about a year of trying all sorts of stuff, like you name it.
What was the discovery of how did you get to this like mantra meditation? How did you get to that from the discovery? So you guys were in a path, particularly like you're dealing with things back then where your skill level at managing challenge and the critical self and all these things that are going on side, which you don't even know how to talk about yourself. And then there's the expectation that you can share it to others who may not listen. Like there's all this that's kind of going on for you guys in that journey.
100%. I mean, it's been a progression, it's been like there was a year of just being totally lost, where we did everything from SSRIs to MDMA and mushrooms and philosophy on end and cognitive behavioral therapy and tapping and childhood trauma psychology and everything else. And it was eventually a good friend of mine, Julian, who said, hey, have you tried meditation? Because I see these videos of like, war veterans coming back with post-traumatic stress disorder, which is what she was diagnosed with towards the end there, and coming back being suicidal, not able to hold down a job and can't sleep. And then, within a couple of months, they're like, far better. So Rochelle ended up signing up for the Transcendental Meditation course, which cost $1,000. Was pretty much all our money, but it was either that or her life, kind of at this point.
Yeah. Wow.
And then I did my own independent research online, trying all sorts of stuff, being like, we both got interested in this, obviously. So then she went off and did the course. She would come home and tell me everything she's learning and everything, and someone else I knew was doing the course as well, so they were both sharing with me everything they were learning, whilst I was then researching online and trying this and trying guided clips and everything. And I sort of discovered that the technique that they teach has deeper roots than just that institution. It's been around for thousands of years, and I discovered the deeper roots of that technique. And compared, what was being offered, I realized, like, okay, cool. So it's the same thing, and it makes so much sense. It's like you're just adding a instrument, to the meditation. Because I think the troubling thing when you're doing like breathing mindfulness meditations, I think for some people is that we've already been thinking and breathing for our entire life. And then now you're just asking to take away one of those two elements. And that, I'm sure, can work for many people. But I think these days, with the rise of, ADD and OCD and just anxiety and everyone being so just triggered from the phone, I think it's becoming harder and harder to just say, become present right now. I'm here fully moving beyond my mind. That is difficult for so many people. And I think if you're a farmer in the Middle Ages, maybe you had less going on inside of your mind than someone now who has 20,000 people messaging them online, and they're trying to keep up with it. Like what are they called? As never-ending feeds, like Facebook and Reddit, and it's like you never get to the bottom anymore. It's like,
but maybe they were just tripping. Maybe they were just tripping on the wind, and maybe they were tripping on these other things and just staying fixated with a lot of noise back then about completely different things.
Of course.
Like, I don't think we just got to a point one day where it was noise. I think it's always been noise. Always
100%.
been noise. Yeah.
100%.
So what? Tell me more, man. I love hearing this. Like, then what happened? So Rochelle went and did the course. She came back. There was someone else as well. You're doing discovery. You found the roots of it. I imagine the roots of it is the mantra meditation that you guys now do. You had a deeper calling to that. You then applied your life and you must have seen some changes. So you were like,
Yeah.
I'm recognizing that this is something.
Yeah, I mean, we gave it a full go, you know, because the
Yeah.
funny thing with meditation is, you quite often, most people will feel it after the first session, you know. It's unlike most things in life. It's like, oh, this thing is going to change your life and it's going to be amazing. It's like, well, it's going to take a long time, be really hard then, right? It's like, actually, I've seen people reduce their stress levels by 100% in 20 minutes. Like, I've had grown men with skeptical minds come out after 20 minutes with a tear running down their face being like, oh my God, I finally got to the place I've been trying to get to all my life.
Man. Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and that's the first time, you know. I had my local driver here, Putu, who's a Balinese guy. He was 10 out of 10 stressed one day. And I was like, all right, screw this, pull the car over. We're doing this right now. And with a language barrier and 15 minutes of me just kind of trying to explain to him as basic as I could, when he came out 20 minutes after, he was 0 out of 10. I do this. I ask people to measure their stress levels.
Yes. Yeah, me too, man. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's no, but so we noticed that there was something to this very, very clearly. And,
definitely.
I mean, honestly, thinking back now, it was probably like within, say, 3 months, like 90% of Rochelle's symptoms had like disappeared.
Yeah.
Like her night terrors went down. She was able to deal with day-to-day reality on a whole different level. She didn't have any crazy bouts of depression, so long as she just kept at it. And, you know, like we're not perfect, you know, it's like you don't have to meditate every single day. You know, it's great to aim at that, but chances are you're probably not gonna, right? Like it depends what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
Even for me, I skip probably maybe 1 a week almost, if I average it out. I'll just, my mind will trick me in the morning. Hey, you're too busy today. Oh yeah, I'm too busy today. Meanwhile, that's not an excuse. That's the reason you do it in the first place, right? But, so, you know, anytime that she would really go back down the river into like a state of depression, it would usually be because like, when was the last time we meditated? Oh, crap, it's been 2 days. Oh, right.
Yep.
You know, but I would say the effect of it was more powerful than anything else that we tried.
Yeah, wow.
And so we've stuck with it now, you know, for the better part of 8 years. And it wasn't until, you know, we went on different tangent. I was a freelance graphic designer. She was working in radio and like all kind of stuff. And then 5 years ago or something, we decided we're just going to travel and pay for Airbnbs rather than our expensive existence in Sydney, just because I kind of crunched the numbers and I was like, we can travel for exactly what we're paying here right now. So became digital nomads and then started an e-commerce business and just kind of started learning about business and this and that and everything. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago that, less than 3 years ago, but after like 2.5 years of just struggle street, trying to build this Amazon business and just like realizing that 90% of what I thought would be, you know, taking photos and drawing and having fun is like supply chain management and marketing and customer service and shipping and logistics. And I was like, damn. And then I realized one day that the problem was that I'd missed out on a very important aspect of business, which is focusing on value, which is focusing on giving people a before and after state. You know, like people come across whatever it is you're offering and their life has changed thereby. Now, what I was offering before was metallic temporary tattoos for festival goers that I was drawing and promoting through influencers. It's great. Used my skill set amazingly. Right? I was very good at drawing, very good at taking photos. But like, what difference am I making in a person's life when they put a shiny sticker on their skin? Nothing. And that's why this was just a learning curve, that whole business. And you know, the question beckoned then, okay, well, knowing what I know and who I am and what skill sets I have, what is the greatest value I could possibly provide? And then it just hit us like a lightning bolt. They're like, oh my God, like we need to help this meditation thing spread, because we've been kind of watching.
What year?
This is probably 2015, 2016.
Okay. Yeah. So 4 to 5 years ago.
It's coming. Actually, no, it's less than that. It's in October. It'll be the anniversary of the business, and it'll be the 3rd year. So it's technically 2 years and 8 months. 9 months.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Because
I
I know
mean,
as a business owner myself, the journey, how it
yeah,
goes in years. And like you were
yeah.
saying, like,
And you got to stick at it, you know.
yeah,
You got to
yeah,
stick at
yeah.
it. I mean, it changes so much along the way, but yeah. I mean, it's just this foundational thing. It's like, what difference are you making in a person's life?
Yeah.
And for me, I realized, like, my God, if it was like, I can record a video. I'm pretty good at repackaging and reboxing and explaining things. Okay, cool. You know, I can build a website. All right, what else do I really need? Like, I've been practicing meditation for 5 years now. Like, I talk about it till the cows come home to anyone that'll listen. Like, you'll find me sitting on a park bench in Berlin making the guy next to me meditate. I've done that. I've literally done that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, sometimes you find a spontaneous person in public, and they're like, "All right, fuck, let's go now."
Yeah.
And yeah, so then we went on our mission. You know, we built an online course, our first one, which we're currently rebuilding now, and making it cooler, making it simpler, making it easier, adding in what we've learned.
Awesome.
But we spent the time filming and writing scripts and building this website and
Wow.
yeah,
And doing it together.
doing it together. Yeah, and I
Awesome,
think
man. When did the retreats, and just what's the name? How do we say that? What are they called, the retreats?
it's called Mindspo. So like
Mindspo.
Mindspo. It's basically like Fitspo, you know, fit inspiration.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
where's the counterpart? You know, where's the counterpart for the mind? So we go Mindspo. And yeah, it wasn't taken. No one's used that term. We kind of just
Okay.
invented it.
Yeah, isn't it cool when you find a word and you're like, no one's got the domain for it?
And it sums it up. And it sums it up perfectly. You know?
Yeah.
And it plays into a trend. You know, it plays into, you know, Rochelle, girl that she was before she learned meditation. That's for her avatar. You know, and our main audience at the retreats are exactly that girl. They're 22 to 26-year-old Australian girls with anxiety. That is the 80%.
Cool. Okay.
So it's working. It's speaking to that audience, you know.
What for someone out here and they're still listening, amazing. Thank you. I'm loving this, by the way, man. I absolutely am. The way you're talking about it, everything. I could go into different tangents.
I kind of just go all over.
It's great, man. It's really great. It's really great. I'm super grateful for it, man. It's amazing. But if someone's still out there, thank you very much. If you're still listening so far, we're glad that you're getting some value out of this. But if they're that person and I like to ask this question, right? Because I want to be able to try to give some value to you guys from the network I have. And if there's someone that is here and they're like, okay, they've had that 10th, 12th, 16th touch now with meditation. And they're like, maybe I start to look at it further. And you know what? It would be cool to go to Bali and be led by you. The style that you've kind of got, I could kind of connect with that. They check out who your fiance is as well. They may be like, wow, that would be really cool. Let's go do that. What would they expect, man? What would they need to know at this point if you're talking to them? What would they expect about what would occur?
Well, it's not your average meditation retreat. Let's just say it like that. It's
that's a very good slogan.
Yeah. You know,
that's what you're trying to position, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to create something different. You know, this isn't a little bamboo hut in Ubud, you know, that you're sitting in, fasting and drinking I don't know what. It's a mixture. We're trying to integrate a normal lifestyle with meditation, and that kind of permeates this whole thing. Like we've you know, the quick abridged version of it is we thought about, we were doing everything online, and after a while we were like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we actually saw our students in person for once, you know?
Yeah.
So then the concept of a retreat, you know, actually we got invited to co-host a retreat. And then we mentioned it to our friends who own a resort in Mykonos at Paradise Beach. And rather than, it was just a conversation. We're like, yeah, we're going to Thailand soon to do this retreat with this other company. And then they were like, hey, Malaka, like, why are you not doing the retreat here? And I was like, you would let us rent the whole resort? They go, yeah, of course. And I'm like, so then, we put on our first retreat this time last year, basically.
Wow.
And it was amazing. You know, it was so much easier than I thought. You know, it's funny. You overthink for the fact, and you don't realize that you think you have to get everything under control and get everything mapped out. But really, it's like when the people arrive, you have an entire week where you are present, where you can problem solve if something comes up.
Yes.
And honestly, the funny thing is, you know, we're so lucky that we attract a certain crowd. We attract people who are, it's like the people who are listening to your podcast. They're people who are interested in personal development. They might be open to meditation. They might realize that they're not perfect people yet. So maybe I should be humble and learn some stuff. And those are really good people to be around on a holiday.
Like for me, I don't do the groups. I've done 6 immersive one-to-ones this year. And that last one, when I reached out to you, man, the level that we got to, it was crazy. And then I don't know if it's like you, I saw some stuff. I think you add in, there's other components you do to make it fun. And I know from what I was doing with this one guy, there's a format that I kind of follow. We do a lot of breath work. We use saunas. We do cold therapy, but then it's kind of like our sessions in quite an intense way. And I have a way of working where I try to, particularly with this guy, I got it quite early on, that there was a lot of pain there that I had to go there. We had to go to the pain because from the pain there's growth.
About that.
Okay. Yeah, man. And that's what I mean. That was like, I think 2.5 days into it, bro. And there'd been tears the whole time. And we kind of had this, we had this breakthrough. But the space that we got to was amazing. And one of the things that we did was similar to what you mentioned before. Like I have this idea, not my idea, but like compartmentalizing. So I will support people to intentionally go to this stressor, right? Because it's there. There's particularly like, we're looking at what you were mentioning before, like we've got conditions or we've got chronic stresses, which are going to be debilitating you in your life because your mind is just telling you so much, right? And generally it's that critical self, which is kind of just like attacking you, comparing you to others and putting a spotlight on all your flaws. And when something is really intense, in some ways it's like, we need to know what that's saying. Like we need to actually go there because it's going to get triggered anyway. Like I know for myself when I got diagnosed with cancer, like there were moments in time and I'd go to the park and I'd see a dad with a kid. And then the trigger would be, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to be that because I've been told that I'm never going to be a dad. I've been told that I'm never going to live to an old age. So these things would then get triggered at the park. So you're kind of walking around like at times looking at something which should be a cancer advert, but you kind of like, oh, why they, like you can't, but that's just, okay, I'm not accepting. I'm not aware of what's going on and I haven't resolved this for myself yet. So I need to go more to explore that pain, be able to sit with it and then be able to have a look at the opportunity and the growth that's there. And so I took this guy through this exercise where I intentionally dig it up. And then by simply just doing, a little bit of gratitude and a little bit of scanning of the body and then finishing with this breath work, the way that you're able to then look, like you said, I don't think I got him down to a 1, but just the way you're able to build something up and then demonstrate within 10 minutes that it can pass, then places a new belief for a person. Because if you're scoring something like an 8 or a 9 that's so intense, but then you show them a guided process where they can walk out of it 10 minutes later feeling a little bit relieved, then you've got a capacity when there's chronic things that are going on. Bali comes to mind. I went to Bali the second time when my first reoccurrence, and I was just there. There's something about Bali, right, where it's just, I was in the water trying to pull in everything. It was an amazing time, and it shouldn't been. I got re-diagnosed and it was like really crazy, but I was like, I need to go. I know what I'm in for. I've got 3 very challenging months from surgery. Chemo's going to start again. I need a month to surf and get my head in order. And I went there, had amazing support from a lot of my mates. And it was during that time where intentionally 3 times a day, I'd do this compartmentalizing exercise on myself. This is like 4 years ago. And that would be that AM, lunchtime and PM, I would sit with all that shit, man. I would just sit with it for 10 minutes and openly go to it and go into the fantasy without blocking it out. But what it did, it then enabled me to be like a functioning human and be one of the boys and be who I needed to be on that holiday, because I wasn't there trying to block something out and I wasn't having a battle. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm bringing this in. So when there's a little bit of that control, I'm going to control you and I've got a way to deal with it. And if you already have those sort of beliefs, you're then going to be able to leverage off them, right? Anyway, yeah, some tangents, man, but I just wanted to cover a little bit of that. Amazing, man. Yeah,
it's that Jordan Peterson thing, right? You got to look at the dragon in order for it to shrink.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
Keep ignoring the dragon, it just keeps growing. And I think
man.
You have trauma, if you have negative belief systems, you have to really you have to get in there, you know, have to go in. And I mean, I think that's what, you know, meditation is such a great thing there, because it's a gym workout for self-awareness.
100%.
You know, was it Socrates said, know thyself. It's like, well, how the hell do you do that? It's like, well, you got to start watching the contents of your mind. You got to start observing yourself from a third party perspective. And, you know, that can be kind of fleeting throughout the day, but meditation, that is a solid 20-minute block right there, where all you're doing is watching what the hell are you? What are you entertaining in your mind? And what is that? And we're not even rationalizing it in the moment. You can rationalize that shit later. You know, you just be like, don't judge it, don't criticize it, just like, keep letting it talk. And it's like, what do I even have in my head? I mean, for me personally, it's like, I used to be an extremely negative person. I realized when I first started meditating, I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm a total dickhead. Like, what is happening here? Like, where did all this shit come from? My head's just filled with one-liners from action movies that I watched when I was a kid, basically. And you know, I would just, the stuff that I would entertain in my head, and stuff that I would claim as part of my identity was just like, damn, like I was the guy with the shock jokes at the party, you know. Like, I'm not looking for anyone to laugh. I'm looking for you to go, whoa, I can't believe you told that joke. And then I'll be like feeding off that somehow. I'm like, oh, it's so dark. It's you know, it took like 6 months or something, and suddenly I'm the guy at the party telling everyone, like, come on, guys, let's play the no complaining challenge. Life is actually amazing. We just need to be present now. I was like, what the fuck happened to this guy?
Exactly. I know. I think for me, it was a moment where it was forced. It was kind of like, okay, you've been diagnosed with this. All right, I've got to eat differently. I've got to do this. I've got to do, you know, do all that. And it was like, well, meditation has to, you know, Dr. Joe Dispenza. I read a book. I was gifted when I was in hospital. The first book I was gifted when I got diagnosed, and I read that, and I was like, whoa, do you know, like,
which one was it? Breaking the habit of being yourself.
How to evolve your brain.
Oh, evolve your brain. You had the chunky one before that. Damn.
That's what I read. And then I started doing some visualizations. I made my own visualization. So then I'd hear my own voice and I'd lie down and listen to it. But it was like 18 months where it was on and off, and it wasn't a regular practice. And I was doing it because I had to do it, right? Because I thought I had to do it. And then I listened to something. I can't remember what I was listening to. And I thought I was meditating, but really what I was doing was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, thinking. And I went,
I'm really good at meditating today.
I was just like, that's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing for 18 months. I've just been sitting there.
Damn.
And then
look.
Like, okay, now what am I?
The mind is so tricky, huh? The mind is so tricky. It's like, oh, I'm thinking again. Oh, thank God I caught myself thinking, because I'm really good at it. It's like, God damn it.
And I think it's the 7th time that you've been thinking for a while now. And it just go, right?
I've been doing this for 20 years.
Where are my keys? Where are your keys? You know you're going to do this later. But if you go that fast, what's going to happen if you take that one there? You're going to go 2 minutes later and you're going to do it.
Don't forget, remember that movie you watched with those little ducks and stuff and the laser cannons? And it was like,
crazy, man. Crazy.
I mean, that right there as well, I'll just quickly say, it's you know, it's amazing when you realize how fucking random the brain is, right? Because you realize that you're a pretty sane person, and that's what's going on up there. So then it's pretty safely to assume that everybody else is doing this too. Oh my God, everyone's a lunatic. And we're just really good at pretending that, like, we just have concise words and concise thoughts, and I would never let my mind think about that. It's like,
I'm not going to tackle that person in public.
No, exactly. You know, exactly. I mean, and for me personally, like, I realized I used to have quite a lot of social anxiety. I was a very shy person. I think maybe part of it was I moved to Australia when I was 13. I didn't know any English, and I had glasses from Germany, and I went into like a high school just filled with bogans, and then it's like, all right, so the first word that I learned is Nazi. I'm like, damn. So I think that kind of pushed me back a little bit there, you know. So like when most of the boys were you know, starting to pick up girls, I was still trying to get rid of the label Dr. Schnoodle, you know, and everybody just impersonating me, talking like this. I'm like, So I think, I think it kind of like, it made me a temporary introvert, I realized for a while there. It wasn't until I kind of, and when I started meditating, that was just liberating for me to really just realize like, dude, my brain is so freaking random and I'm not an anomaly here. Like I'm not the odd one out, the crazy guy walking on the road. Like this is everyone. And when you realize how random the brain is, even if I were to criticize someone on the street, right? Oh, they're wearing some retarded looking dress. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like that thought just like is instantly replaced by another thought, by another thought, by another thought. So even so, if somebody else is doing that about me, it's like, oh, look at that, 2 eggs for breakfast. Look at that guy's head. Right? It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's just one thought out of 50 to 70,000, and the only thing that it's having an impact on is that person's physiology and their level of happiness, because they're just walking around criticizing everyone.
Yeah,
that's just their karma.
Yeah.
So like when I realized that through meditation, that what other people think doesn't matter. What you think, you've got enough work cut out for yourself, just working out what are you thinking? Like, what do you think? Because that's having a direct impact on your life. And no one cares anywhere near as much about whatever the hell you're wearing or what you're saying or what you're getting up to, as much as they care about what they're doing themselves and making sure that other people don't think that they are weird. So you get the most confident person. You get someone who you think like, oh, they're really cool. They got that motorbike and that leather jacket and those tattoos. That guy must just have a straight stream of awesomeness, never self-criticizing, never self-deprecating, never shy. You get that person and you ask them the right series of questions and you kind of corner them a little bit. You realize, you're just making this up as well. Damn. It's just everyone. Everyone's in this thing and we're all pretending we're all so normal and we've all got it so together. And it's just bullshit. And the beautiful thing is when you realize that and you keep your mind under wraps through meditating, so you're doing the work at least, you realize like, number one, you're kind of invisible. Like you're kind of invisible out there in the best possible way. It's like no one's really watching. Like, do your thing. Like if you want to walk down the road and sing, go for it. Like if you want to walk down the road and smile and people are like, man, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Don't worry about that. Just smile because it's making you feel good. Yes. And there's going to be other people who respond positively to it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
That was such a freedom. Like like these days, I'm a completely different person.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah. Do you notice now that you have a capacity? Obviously, I think you would by what you've been able to do and where you guys are at. But you now have a capacity to kind of make this work for you now. Like, I know that I'm not as stuck in this thing as I once was. Like, there's a regular, probably 45 minutes of practice a day, AM and PM. And then all the time, I've got simple little cues where I just come back. Yeah. I'm just coming back to a breath, coming back to a breath. I did one probably 10 seconds ago. And just, what do you do, man? Like, so sorry, I've crossed. Do you have something do you have a set point? Do you have something that'll kind of bring you back?
So for me, to be honest, I meditate once a day. I do it for 20 minutes in the morning because I look at it like turning a fresh page, right? You're writing the story of your day, or like, why are you writing over the top of a page that's already filled with text, right?
Yep.
So I turn a fresh page in the morning. I clear the cache. I bring my mind to a near or somewhat still point within 20 minutes. And then, I mean, during the day, like, something I've done is I've actually tattooed a lot of messages on my hands. That helps me. I have a little meditate reminder there. And then I have attention and intention.
Yeah.
And this is reminding me of just how to manifest my reality, which is a whole nother kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But
put it somewhere you're going to remember, right? Fridge.
I also have I have a watch that I wear that hasn't got a face, and I've just scratched the word now into the watch. So I have these little reminders that I try to. It's funny, right? Because if I don't meditate for a few days, and sometimes I'll do that just to see like what was life like before I started doing this. Right?
Interesting.
I'll notice, just to remind myself. I don't want to always just be in this Zen state. Sometimes I want to remind myself, okay, this is what 99% of the world currently feels like.
I'll dip my head into the craziness.
Oh man, like, I mean, it takes about 2 to 3 days, and I'll find myself in a perpetual state of absent-mindedness. I become angry very fast. Like if I get the little spinning beach ball of death on my laptop, I'm already a third of the way to just putting my head through the screen. It's pretty crazy. And this is what I was always like. This is what I was always like my entire life. I used to be very quick to anger. I've punched a couple of walls at home in the past and put a hole through them and felt like a total piece of shit afterwards. And it was over some totally stupid thing, right? But I find that now after 8 years of meditating, it's like I always carry with myself a certain level of that meditative kind of state. Like these days, like you're not going to find me punching a wall or nothing, even if I don't meditate for a few days, of course. It's like there is, it lasts. The 20-minute meditation in the morning, it lasts. And also I've developed over the years an awareness that the earlier I can interrupt an emotional chain reaction, the better. It's just like a belief that I have now. It's an understanding of momentum is easier to stop when it's just starting. And therefore, I think I keep with me just an awareness, especially in those moments where it matters the most, a testy conversation or, you're on the road and someone cuts you off or something, that like the moment I start feeling that judgment or that anger or that criticism or that the wheel spinning off into some tangent is the moment that, like I'll do something like, like you breathe in for 2 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, or like 3 or 3. You can always recenter yourself on the present moment by remembering your breath, or remembering how you feel, or remembering what the sensing what the air feels like as it's hitting you while I'm on the scooter or something. And I can move beyond my mind into a full state of being present for a few seconds at a time whenever I need to. And that is immediately like it's like a pressure valve,
100%.
for whatever's going on up there.
But it's just a little bit of relief. It just breaks the program,
just
right?
A little bit,
so it's just like breaks it. And then you kind of just a little bit more charged. All right, sweet. And also, you go.
No. I mean, it's a maintenance procedure. That's the whole thing.
Yes.
It's like it's something that helps you live a better life. It's something that helps you like get through situations better. I realize 99% of the world's problems happen inside the head. We imagine all these scenarios, and oh my God, what will happen if they say this, and then I'll get fired, and then I'll get homeless, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how many of those things ever come true?
Yeah.
Well, like literally less than 1%, considering how much crap we're thinking all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just about remembering that and realizing that when you move out of that, and when you move beyond that tangent inside of your mind, and you refocus yourself on the present moment, more often than not, significantly more often than not, everything is actually totally fine. You're sitting in a cafe somewhere, everyone around you is having a good time. It's a beautiful day. It's just your mind that is going to like, what happens if the IRS comes knocking on the door? And it's like, oh, that's not happening. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. There was a Mark Twain quote that I read ages ago, and it was like, I've lived many hardships in my life, but I haven't.
But hardly of them ever happened.
Yes. Just one of those ones you think it stays with me, and I don't even know what it is anymore. Like it was just so profound when I heard it. I was like,
there was one that stuck with me as well, which I always find is a really good one. I tell people at the end of like the meditation teaching thing, I always say, there may be a day where you'll have a negative thought and you'll laugh. When that happens, you'll know you've made great progress. When you have that thing try on, you go, nice try.
Yes, but it's also looking for that then, right? So if you're then looking for that negative thought, it's then going to be on your spotlight. So you look for it and like, I've got it. So rather than it being a problem, that becomes the opportunity, right?
No, exactly. Well, I think this is where it comes really valuable to realize, like, why the hell do we even have this? Like, why do we have these negative thoughts? Is it just because I was surrounded by negative people or something? And it's not. It's an evolutionary advantage. Like it's a tactic that 100%. Nature developed. Because if you had two primates and one is super relaxed and just like focusing on the present moment and is grateful and whatever. And then this one over here is worried about saber-toothed tigers and running out of food. Well, this one gets killed and this one doesn't pass on its genetic material. And this one, you know, has lots of babies, lots of scared babies who have lots of scared babies who have lots of scared babies. And we are the descendants of that branch of it, an evolutionary advantage being to look out for fear, to worry about danger. And the simple thing, we are so lucky. We are so lucky to be alive in 2019, which is the safest time in 1,000 years statistically. You know, of course, you say that to people and they go, what do you mean about terrorism and all this crap I see on the news? And it's like, yeah, the people who run those institutions, those organizations, they know that that is how we're wired. So they can't show you the news about, hey, life's amazing, because everyone turns off the bloody TV and goes outside. So instead, they show you tiny little zoomed in horror stories so that your body is like, oh my God, I need to pay attention because this might save my life. And then, you know, and then they show you the McDonald's and Hungry Jack's ads in between. That's where they make their money. So
of course, man.
Attention grabbing. And I get it. It's an economic model. But the side effect is that people now have fucking anxiety, walking around thinking they're going to get killed at any given moment by Hezbollah or something.
For sure.
And it's like, Jesus, it's the safest time in 1,000 years. We have food en masse. We have 24-hour convenience stores. You don't need to worry about food shortages. And why do people care so much about what other people think about them? It's really simple. We relied on group dynamics to survive. Now, if you live in a tribe where you have a small group of people for your survival, because you can't hunt an animal by yourself, right? So you need these people to stay alive. If you say the wrong thing, and everyone around you is like, you know what, Chris, what you just said there, we don't agree with that. You're out. Get out of the tribe. Get out. That is the exact same thing as saying you're going to die now. You're going to perish because you cannot survive by yourself. So therefore, we've evolved a hyper importance on other people's thoughts about us because we always got to check in with the tribe. It's like, am I still in sync? Am I still safe? You know.
And now the tribe, like, right?
The tribe doesn't exist. The tribe doesn't exist, and the tribe doesn't give a shit. You're totally self-sufficient, and you have everything that you need. You have bloody internet and 24-hour stores and whatnot. And you know, it's an amazing time to get grateful and get present and see the world for what it is.
Cool, man.
Filled with amazing beauty, and most people are amazing. I expect to only meet amazing people, and guess what? I only meet amazing people. And then I meet other people who are like, man, people are such, you know, see you next Tuesday. And then they tell me one story after another of all the crap that happens to them. It's like, well, what you focus on expands, dude. Like, you're making that happen. You're attracting
for sure, man. Awesome, bro. Hey, if someone was now like, okay, where do I check more of this out? So where do I look at maybe something online, or how do I get myself into a retreat, or if, had those two options, what would they do and where would they go?
So we have two websites where we advertise all of our stuff. We have mindspo.com, which is right now you can buy the meditation course there for about $49 US. Now you can buy the older version, which is the current one, which is from about 2.5 years ago. Still, of course, works a treat. The reviews are amazing. Over 1,000 people have done it, and it works great. We are, however, releasing a new version of that in the next month or two. But I think, you know what, if you buy it now, we're going to send everyone who bought the old course the new one anyway. So if you wanted to get started, you can learn meditation right now. We try to keep it really secular, keep it really easy to understand. And if you want to come learn from us personally, we host retreats here at our own house in Bali. We've crowdfunded a 6-bedroom mega mansion, which is pretty amazing that we've figured that out. And it's an incredible space. I mean, like,
you crowdfunded your house,
Yeah. Look, this is the rooftop. This is the top floor.
Oh man.
And then there's 2 more floors below with an indoor yoga meditation area, an infinity pool.
Is that the pool I see, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. we're about 15 minutes from Canggu, so we're just far away from all the noise. It feels like Ubud, but we're really close to everything here.
Wow, man.
So you can go to mindsporetreats.com, and we've got our Bali retreats there, and we're also hosting a really special Mykonos meditation and manifestation retreat next May, which is the first retreat we ever did. We're going back to the same place, which is just amazing. Like Mykonos, like one of my favorite places in the world. So high vibe. So that'll be 45 to 50 people. or
Wow.
meditating and partying and just talking about cool stuff and just soaking up the sunshine in the Greek islands.
That sounds awesome, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And they check that out.
Maybe you should come. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Oh, well, we're going to be in Europe next year for sure during summer, 100%.
Perfect.
As I said, we
Maybe
get
the start
married
of
in
line.
Tulum in 2 months, and then next European summer, we're over there for sure, man. So
Perfect.
And so then the Instas, yeah. So then they've got the websites,
Right.
Yep.
And the Instagrams, you can look up Chris Soll. That's my personal Soll, Chris
Yep.
Soll in one word. Rochelle, my partner, is Rochelle, ROCHELLE_Fox.
Yes.
And otherwise, we also have @Mindspo, where we post. We have a graphic designer who helps us make these little affirmation slides with graphics and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll provide all them when I post about it as well. I have got one question, man. I don't know if this is going to be hard. I got asked a question. It was like, when someone is meditating and they're spinning, what is the reason for that?
Oh,
sorry, man.
No. Look. Let me just say here, because the mind always loves to find, experts and tries to put everything in boxes and make it solid. Honestly, look, meditation, it's a bit of a mystery, right? It's like consciousness, right? We're still trying to figure this thing out right now. And there are a lot of anomalies that can happen that are outside of what we've mapped, Like we can kind of show what part of the brain is lighting up and everything else. But at the end of the day, we can't even define what bloody consciousness is, It's a word and then we're kind of out. So meditation, it's your mind is a bit of a mystery, right? It's the supercomputer that is more powerful than all the computers combined on Earth right now. It's incredible, and this is something that directly impacts it. So sometimes funny things happen. Like we have a lot of people when they first meditate, they're like, I see colors. I was seeing colors. I was like, I've never seen colors. I had a couple of instances when I first started meditating, one time for about 30 seconds and one for 5, where I can only describe like I was skydiving on ecstasy. Like I was peaking while I was falling. And I immediately tried to grab onto it to make the feeling last forever.
Yes.
Which I think is the reason I've never been able to get back there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell was that? Like, oh my God. And I think some guru type told me that, you had a glimpse of the fifth level of consciousness, cosmic consciousness, which if you meditate for long enough, you'll be able to maintain and switch on purpose whenever you want. I'm like, okay, but have you got a guidebook on how to get there?
Yeah.
So look, I don't know. I honestly, I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I'm not anyone's guru. I'm like you, bro. I'm like the person who asked that question. I'm just an inquisitive, normal guy who is very passionate about this. So I want to share it, but I would not claim that I have an understanding of all the possible experiences of all the different kinds of consciousnesses out there. Well, the one great consciousness, but
yeah. But it does seem that you've got so much value to lead, man. So much value to lead and to give, and I think
enough for a solid foot in the door. That's what I'm like. If you want to go uber deep into a 30-day silent retreat and learn the Sanskrit words of everything, I'm probably not your guy, right?
Yeah.
Because like I'm going to be the guy who's going to go with you down to the bar and have a drink later, and maybe we'll drive a dirt bike on the beach, But I can also talk to you about consciousness and how amazing it is to manage your mental health, a spiritual practice, right?
But isn't that that's what it needs to be, man. It needs to be. Let's make this part of life, right?
Yeah.
So how do we replicate something?
And meditate.
Yeah.
You can be in finance and meditate. You can be a hard rock covered, tattoo covered, whatever guy. You can be a tattoo artist, covered head to toe in tattoo. You can be a meditator. It doesn't need to be. You need to be squeaky clean and never swear and wear long orange robes. Like that is just like the mind has just tried to compartmentalize and box this thing so hard. And meanwhile, it's like if you have a brain, then you can meditate. And you probably should, because you got a lot of thoughts going on up there. Yeah. And I always like to say, if there was an instruction manual that came with this human suit here that I'm currently within, right? If there was an instruction manual that was given at birth, that's like here, model Chris humanoid, right? Yes. Then the first bloody page, 100%, would say, in case of anxiety,
Yes.
overthinking,
Yes.
anger, sleep problems, right? Like absent-mindedness, jealousy,
Yeah. Yeah.
grief, depression, suicidal tendencies, post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yes.
all that stuff, then follow this simple procedure.
Yeah.
And you will, like going to sleep. A lot of people, when they have troubles, they're like, okay, I'm going to go sleep it off, right? But the problem is when you sleep it off, it's like you close the laptop screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, the hard drive cools down. It's not, the fan isn't going anymore. It's going to work a little bit better when you open it up. It's like, oh, it feels kind of fresh. Oh, it's like a little bit faster. But all the tabs are open. All the programs are open. All that shit, like one simple little word and it just fires up again.
Yeah.
Meditation, a good long 10 to 20 minute meditation where you allow your mind enough time to calm itself down, like that water. It needs a little bit of time, That is the same as holding down that power button for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Everything shuts down and you have a clean slate. The past is now the past. It's locked away. It's concrete. You can't change it. So don't focus on it too much. The future, it's never going to look the way that you think anyway. And when it's the future, it's actually now. So why don't you just focus on now?
Yeah.
Because this is the place where all the happiness is, all the work is, all the productivity is, all the discoveries are. This is where it is. This is where your life is. Be present for this moment.
Stay.
This moment is your life. And
Wow,
if you
man.
don't meditate, you'll have glimpses of the present moment, but it will be overshadowed by an avalanche of thoughts that you're always maintaining at all times. It's just rapids of consciousness in there. And when you meditate, you calm that to a trickle once a day. And then as it grows, you have more capacity for being present and for thinking clearer. And that's why it's just like, God damn, it's the greatest thing ever. Like everybody fucking do this already. Come on. You brush your teeth. You brush your teeth. Why do you brush your teeth? It's like, or the dental hygiene, get clean teeth. Okay. Why don't you add this thing for mental hygiene? Because it's going to improve your life in 10,000 bloody ways. I will say one last thing, because this is a great analogy for certain personality types in particular, right? We have made money and success a bit of a fetish in the West, the capitalistic kind of thing. This is why I think this works. So meditation, it's not some hippie shit, right? Because it'll give you the most valuable thing in life.
Yeah.
And I can prove that, because if you have Richard Branson's island, Necker Island, a man who we think is at the height of success, right? Now add onto that island every symbol of success that you can imagine. A fleet of Lamborghinis and a pile of gold and God knows, everything you can imagine is on that island with you and it's yours. But you've got depression. Not extracting all that much happiness out of this island filled with billions of dollars worth of riches, right? That depression, that mind running amok is going to dull that entire experience. Meanwhile, you have a guy living here in Denpasar, in the belly of the beast in Bali, who's got a studio apartment that costs him $400 a year. There's plenty of those people. And he's got next to nothing. But he has figured out that simply being alive right now in this present moment is kind of a gift. It's like amazing. Wow, I've incarnated here and I get to have all these beautiful experiences because I'm here for them, right? And I've got my perspective in order because I am present, I am a meditator, I'm whatever, right? I have my mind is in harmony. So therefore my external reality turns into harmony. Now that person, I would argue, is richer than the person with Necker Island. It's peace of mind is the most valuable thing in this life, because everything else will be totally negated by you not having your perspective in order, and the beautiful thing is it doesn't take years. You don't have to go to India. You don't have to go through all these crazy hardships. It is the biggest paradox ever, because usually to have anything worth having, you got to do tons of work and it's going to be difficult and it's going to be hard. It's going to cost a lot of money and everything. And you've got to go places and find teachers. And it's like, here you have this thing where you do less than you've ever done in your entire life. You sit down, you're not even trying to think anymore, Jesus. You're just trying to sit comfortably and do as little as you possibly can. Play a single sound or focus on your breath or whatever, just a single track activity.
Yeah.
And what you get from it is the most valuable thing you could ever have.
100%. And compounding, right?
Compounding like crazy. My life just keeps getting better. It's
Yeah,
just,
man.
it's amazing. It's why I have a tattoo on my hand saying meditate, because there's never going to be a moment in my life where I'm like, I think I'm going to revert into being a mindless idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, dude, this has been amazing. I've just been sitting back and soaking it all in, and a lot of it I listen to a lot, and I try to put my own stuff out there as well, and I see that we're similar in many ways, but you're saying it in a way that I actually haven't heard before, man. So I'm sitting back and going, awesome, and I'm just sitting there nodding, going, I like how you've done that. It's just, I'm super grateful for your time, man. Love following
pleasure,
the
bro.
journey of what you guys are building. I've got a million more questions. You've crowdfunded your house. I want to go down there. I want to go into business. I want to do it
Let's
all,
have a
but
chat.
man, I just want to be super mindful of your time. So happy to have connected with you, bro. I'm going to try to put this across everywhere, and hopefully some people come and check you out. Appreciate it, man.
Perfect. Mate,
Pleasure, bro.
appreciate the platform. Thanks,
No
bro.
worries. Awesome, man.
See you.
See ya.